Good evening, and welcome to the March 2015 Richardson Law Office's Legal Hangout. And as I mentioned last month, we're doing episodes on financial aid, the application process, the front end of the financial aid and student loan process where you're getting the money for school. And trying to come up with the best strategy for doing that, because as we all know in the news, there's well over $1 trillion nationally in student loan debt. People are graduating owing all kinds of money for their education. So the best thing that you can do is be proactive. Go through the process carefully, make intelligent choices about your financial aid. Go to a school that you realistically can afford so that you minimize the amount of debt that you'll have upon graduation. And that's one of the purposes of the book I have available for free download from my website, Applying for Federal Financial Aid, the Definitive Guide for Students and Parents. And you can certainly download that from my site, and I'll provide you with the link. But that's the way to go now. We do have some questions this month, but I do want to cover a couple of things before we get into the questions. It's the end of March. Hopefully you've already submitted your FAFSA form, you've gotten the student aid report back, and you have received the financial aid offer from the school you're going to, or the school or schools you've applied to if you're going into your freshman year this fall. So you're seeing all these different options in the financial aid offer, and you're wondering, now what do I do? How do I respond to it? What's the best way to handle this? How do I know what the best deal is? And how do I go forward with this offer? Well, the U.S. Department of Education has a particular recommendation on the order in which you should respond to and obtain financial aid from these offers. And the basic rule is free money first. So the very first thing you're going to do is look at what grants and scholarships are available to you, because that's free money. You don't have to pay it back. So if you can get a Pell Grant, a Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or if you're looking into going into the teaching profession, you can get a Teach Grant. The only thing to bear in mind with Teach Grants is that there are strings attached. You have to go into the teaching profession, agree to do certain things, and if you don't live up to the obligations under the agreement, that grant can turn into a direct loan and you'll end up paying it back. But grants and any kind of scholarships offered either by the school or from other sources that you can get, but get that free money first, because you don't have to pay it back after you graduate. So scholarships and grants. The next thing you go to is a work-study program. Now, that's free money as well. You just have to work for it. Now, there's information on my website about the work-study program, but basically it is a needs-based program where the schools are given a certain amount of money by the Department of Education, and you can apply for that. Your need is determined, and then that determines how much money you can make in the hours you'll work. Again, it's a part-time job, and it's free money, but you got to work for it. And that means for every hour you're working on your part-time job, you're not studying or doing something else. So you just have to bear that in mind. But again, free money first. So a good second step is looking into the work-study program. The third item are federal direct loans. For undergraduate school, there are Stafford loans. They can be subsidized or unsubsidized. I would highly recommend that you get a subsidized loan first. They are needs-based, so you would have to demonstrate need, and that will determine to what extent the amount of money that you may get. But it's a subsidized loan, and therefore any interest that accrues during any deferments, like your in-school deferment, will be paid by the government. It doesn't roll into your loan, and you don't end up paying that after graduation. So subsidized loans are the best way. Also Perkins loans. Now, Perkins loans are administered by the school, but it is a federal loan program. So that's good. Then after that, the Department of Education says look into loans from your state or from the school itself. Now, state loans, I mean, here in New Jersey, we have the New Jersey class loans, and then the loan from the school is essentially a private loan. It's just that the school is lending it as opposed to a bank. And then the fifth item are private loans. To be honest with you, you go in that order. I wouldn't even go beyond step 3 if you can, because even if you fall short, if there's still money, you've gotten all the grants and scholarships you can, you've gotten into work study or gotten money from that, and you've maxed out what you can borrow in a federal loan, either direct loan or Perkins loan, and there's still money left over. If your parents are helping you out, or if you, the parent, are watching this evening, you can get a Parent Plus loan. This is a federal loan. It is credit-based, but they are the guidelines, the lending guidelines are fairly loose, and there is no limit on the amount you can borrow. It's basically designed to fill the gap and pay the balance of the cost of attendance for that school. So if you can use that to fill the gap. If you still have problems trying to fill the gap and you're going into your freshman year in the fall, you might want to consider maybe going to a more affordable school, or have some other alternatives other than private loans or a state loan like in New Jersey class loans, because they don't have the flexibility or the advantages of federal loans. So that's what I would do. But that's the recommended order of things that's from the U.S. Department of Education. Free money first. So that's the rule. So that's what you follow. So that's that. Now, before we get into the questions, I was contacted by someone who is trying to get some change in New Jersey. I mentioned New Jersey class loans. The problem with the New Jersey class loans is they were written and designed to follow the federal system. In other words, ways of getting out of default through either rehabilitating the loan or consolidating the loan, payment plans, more flexible payment plans like they have the federal system, but they've never really been implemented. And this woman that sent me a link to an online petition through change.org, petitioning and trying to get the legislature to take another look at the class loan program and implement a lot of the federal programs that the class loan program is supposed to mirror. I would highly recommend that you, if you have a class loan program or you're thinking about taking a class loan, if you have to, and you want to bring about some change, go to that, sign that petition. I'll provide the link in the notes below, or you can send me an email. I'll send you a link. It's a very long, involved link. I can't put it up on the screen. It wouldn't make sense. So I can either email it to you, or I'll try and put it in the notes below this video. So that may be a way to try and bring about some change in the state of New Jersey with these class loans. Okay, so we have a couple questions. I have a Carly who asked me, is there any way to reduce interest rates on your loans? And I'm assuming you're referring to federal loans. With private loans, really, no. It's like any other loan. It is what it is. The interest rate is what it is. Mortgages, sometimes you can get into a mortgage modification and they might agree to lower the interest rate. But that's really whether the lender wants to do that. There's no particular law. As far as the federal loans are concerned, the interest rates are already pretty competitive. And the question is not so much the interest rate, but the monthly payment. Because these days, with all the student loans out there, you can have a lot of money that you owe. And it's just a matter of being able to afford that monthly payment. So you have income-based repayment plans that are available to you to pay your federal loans. You can go through income-based repayment for a student direct loan, or income contingent repayment for a Parent Plus loan, and that can effectively lower the payment. A lot of times people try to lower the payment by lowering the interest rate, but in essence what happens is you lower the payment under the federal system by lowering the payment, by making it track with your income. And the idea of these income-based plans is that it is capped with income-based repayment and with income contingent repayment. It's capped at 15% of your disposable income. With more recent loans, more recent graduates from school, there's the pay-as-you-earn program, which caps it at 10%. So really, you're not adjusting the interest rate, you're adjusting the payment. Under these income-based plans, the interest does accrue, but as long as you stay in the income-based plan, the interest does not accumulate and then capitalize into the loan. So it just sort of floats there. And you either are able to pay it off in full over the years as your payment tracks with your income, or at the end of 20 or 25 years, depending upon the plan, any balance is just wiped out. So these income-based plans have the effect of lowering the interest rate because it lowers your payment. It's just a different way of finding affordability for your loan. Carly also asks about, she says, I don't work for a nonprofit or government job. Is there any other program besides public service loan forgiveness? I worked at a nonprofit for 3 years. Can that help in any way reduce my loans? Well, for those of you who don't know, the public service loan forgiveness program is just that. It's not a payment program, it's a forgiveness program. And what it does is, if you work for a public entity, if you work for a 501c3 charity, or you work for an approved nonprofit full-time, then every payment that you make on an income-based plan that stretches out past more than 10 years, on an income-based plan, while employed full-time by a qualified employer, a charity, public entity, or qualifying nonprofit, counts towards ultimate discharge. If you accumulate 120 payments while employed full-time at a qualified employer, you can then apply to have any balance owed discharge tax-free. So in answer to your question, Carl, you ask that 3 years you worked for a nonprofit, will that help you reduce your loans? Well, if that nonprofit was a qualifying nonprofit, and while you were working for that nonprofit, you were in a qualifying payment plan, either an income-based plan or an extended plan that goes beyond 10 years, then however many payments you made during that period of time would count towards the 120 you would need to make to seek discharge under the forgiveness program. Basically, the reason for that, you having to be in a qualified plan, is if you aren't in a particular plan, the government puts you into a 10-year fixed plan, which means it's paid off in 10 years anyway. So you really don't benefit from the public service loan forgiveness program. You have to be in an income-based plan that extends up to 25 years, or an extended plan, which it can extend out over 30 years, to really benefit from getting rid of it in 10 years, or in effect 120 payments. So Carly, I'll try to provide some links to some content on my website that talks about nonprofits and the income-based plans and the public service loan forgiveness program to see what can be done there. Really, there are some, I think there is a discharge program in for certain teaching positions. In your question that you sent to me, your email, you indicated you're not a teacher, so you're not in that profession. So I don't know of any other program other than that would result in forgiveness, other than if you became totally disabled or have some other reason for administrative discharge. So that answers that question. And of course, Carly, if you have any follow-up questions or whatever, just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to answer them, but I hope that answers your question there. Donna writes, I'm planning to negotiate my payment terms for my loans from grad school, since I chose not to return to school. And I plan to choose an income-based repayment plan. Good move. But I don't want my husband's income used to determine my monthly payment amount. She's gone to various websites, learned different things, and find out that in essence, if you file a joint return, then your spouse's income can be included in the income-based calculations. And that is correct, Donna, what you're reading online is correct. You file jointly, then your spouse's income can be used to determine that, if you go by the adjusted gross income in your tax return. So if we're talking about, and I assume we're talking about loans to you, direct loans to the student, because income-based repayment, yes, can be if you file. You say you're looking into you arrange to talk to your accountant regarding filing separately this year, even though you had previously filed jointly, and you're going to be seeing your accountant tomorrow, so you want an answer. So what I would recommend is when you talk to your accountant tomorrow, find out what the tax implications are for filing separately as opposed to filing jointly. And look to see, all right, if you filed separately, what would your adjusted gross income be? And then you can see if it's significantly different, then you may well be able to get a better plan. Now, bear in mind, folks, and I believe, Donna, you are dealing with just loans to you, but if you have a Parent Plus loan and you're in income contingent repayment, you can't separate that. If mom's got the loan and dad didn't sign, and you're trying to get into an income contingent repayment plan on the Parent Plus loan, both incomes are going to count. But bear in mind, when you get into these income-based plans, what happens is you submit your adjusted gross income for the previous tax year, usually just by providing the tax return, and then swear as to what your family size is. So it's adjusted gross income, family size, and then they look at your loans and calculate disposable income and whether a regular payment would exceed 10 or 15% of that disposable income, and that's how they do the calculations. And once you get into that, it's adjusted every 12 months. And what the easiest way to do that is to give the Department of Education permission to go over to the IRS and pull your tax return, look at your adjusted gross income, and pull that number for you. And then all you have to do is once every 12 months, contact your servicer, make sure that you certify your family size, that it hasn't grown, like you had another child, or shrunk, like you've had a child leave the nest, so that they can make that adjustment for the coming year. And that's usually the easiest way to do that. I don't know that it has to be your adjusted gross income. You may well be able to provide other income information, but that can be a pain every year. And if the money you save on monthly payments on an annual basis far exceeds the additional tax you may pay by filing separately, I think you'll see it makes sense to file separately and get the better deal on your monthly payment. So that's what I would do. Talk to the accountant, find out what the tax implications are about filing separately. And if you want, I can send you the link. Just send me an email. I'll send you the link on how to do that, on how to plug in that calculation to get an idea of what your monthly payment would be based on just your income. You ask, after that, you'll go to your servicer, set up a payment schedule. You have a forbearance ending, so good. You want to get this in place before your forbearance ends, and that's good. So that you'll have a plan at the end of April when that ends. And you ask, they don't do a 3 or 4 year look back at a time. No, there's no 3 or 4 year look back. There's just that 1 year look back. You provide them with a 2014 tax return for your adjusted gross income. So that's our program. That's our questions. Next month, in the month of April, the show April 23rd at 5 p.m. is going to be our legal hangout. And we've done February and March have been about the financial aid application process, the FAFSA, as you've seen. But now with April and into May, we have folks graduating from school and having to pay it back, come up with a repayment plan. So for April and May, we're going to have hangouts to talk about setting up a plan, not for borrowing, but setting up an affordable and intelligent plan for paying back the loan after you graduate. So if you have any questions on that topic, and we've talked about that in the questions today, then feel free to shoot me an email at steve@richardsonlawoffices.com or tweet it to me to @sjrlaw. I'll be happy to answer it. And we're going to be talking about, as I said, repayment of student loans for our next hangout. So it's getting a lot warmer, although it's a little wet today outside. Better than last month with all the snow. And especially in our area, we even had snow on the first day of spring, which was kind of ironic. So that's it for tonight. Hope you got a lot of good information, and hope to see you next month on April 23rd when we talk about repayment of loans. Thank you and good evening.